7 things will stop you from achieving your goals, so it's time to eliminate them and clear a path to your dream life. Let's go. Hey, how's it going? It's Laura, and if you want to make 2024 the year that you actually finally achieve your goals, I am running a goal setting workshop. More on that later, link in the description, but for now let's look at the things that you definitely don't want to do. Now, while these are in no particular order, this first one is probably the most common and the biggest mistake that I see a lot of people making, and it is detrimental to your success. Because look, we're all full of motivation in the beginning. You know, when you first start out, everyone is energized by their goal. The problem is not committing to a goal. The real trick is recommitting to your goal over and over again. It is sticking with it all the way through to the finish line, and it's really easy to fall off track. And you know, we all come up against obstacles and things. We all have tough days. It's getting back on track that is important. Unfortunately, you can't expect every day to be plain sailing. You also can't expect to make consistent, steady progress towards your goal. It's not always going to be like this upward trajectory. Yeah, the road is going to be bumpy at times. The real trick is not bowing out when things get bumpy. In the workshop, there is a whole lesson dedicated to how to continue to make progress even when times are tough. There's also a lesson dedicated to avoiding or minimizing or overcoming obstacles as and when they appear. There's even a whole lesson dedicated to how to get back on track when you realize that you have lost your way a little bit. It's really about going into this with the mindset, you know, starting out on any kind of goal journey with this mindset of recommitting, knowing that you're going to, you know, come up against some obstacles. You're going to have some slip-ups along the way. Life is going to throw something unexpected at you, and it's not letting those things stop you. The next deadly sin then is not tying your goals to your values. Now, there is some very common advice out there, and I have given it myself. I hold my hands up on that one. It's to ask yourself why you want a goal, and that is supposed to be your big motivator. That's supposed to keep you moving on those days when you might not necessarily feel like it. But here's the problem with that. We can all come up with a good, sound, rational reason for why something might be beneficial. We can all come up with some pro for why we should go after a certain goal. We can all think of reasons why we should want something or why we should go after certain things, but that's not really our motivation. A lot of those things can be very surface level, and I know that they can say, you know, well, ask yourself why, and then ask yourself, you know, why. Just ask why basically multiple times and you'll definitely get to the root cause. Here's a better question that I have found that you can ask yourself. It's not why do you want something, it's what are you going to do or how are you going to feel once you get it. Here's why that is a very important distinction. It's because when you figure out what your true end goal is, what the finish line behind the finish line is, you're going to realize that there may be other ways that you can get there. We can all give ourselves a why for getting healthy and all those types of things. But when you figure out what you're going to do or what life is going to look like for you after you reach that milestone, then you start to understand, okay, it might not be just like a simple matter of going from A to B. There might be more roads, more avenues available to you. Like if you could get yourself from A to B smoothly and seamlessly and quickly, no, that's great. Go for it. But how often does that actually happen? Not often at all, unfortunately. Really what happens most often is that you try to get from A to B and there's an obstacle in the road and then you're stuck. Whereas when you figure out what the true destination is, that's a little bit further away, you start to give yourself other options. And then you know, oh, I can just go around this way. I can try out this other thing. Having other options is going to be the difference between you getting stuck and staying there, or worse, just like turning around and going back home, or just taking a detour. You open up this wide spectrum of options, and you may realize that maybe a different option is a better way to get to your destination. Tying your goal to your values immediately opens up so many more opportunities for success. Another thing then, and I think we're all guilty of this one, I know I certainly am, it's taking on too much, essentially. It is trying to take those big leaps and bounds and to change everything overnight instead of taking baby steps. We've all been there. We've all wanted to run before we can walk. We've all, thought that we would wake up one morning, particularly January 1st, and be this brand new, confident, exceptional, healthy, productive person. We have these really high expectations, which are ultimately dashed because that's just not reality. It's kind of like a reverse Cinderella situation. You expect that when the clock strikes midnight on New Year's Eve, everything is going to be magical thereafter. You are going to transform into this completely different person, essentially. So in the workshop, I talk about how to break your goals down, but it's not in the kind of standard, just break them down into manageable chunks type thing. No, this is a very detailed explanation of exactly how to break them down so that you can definitely achieve them. Steps that are easy to take, steps that are actionable. This is something that I implemented this year, and it has made all the difference. Let me tell you, when I unlocked this for myself this year, I started making, massive progress towards my goals. And on a consistent basis, I made advances that were just light years ahead of what I had been doing previously. So this system, this way of doing it, is really the way forward. Like, I will not be looking at any other goal setting system from now on. This is the way that I'll be doing it. I used to struggle so much with my goals. I used to slog at them and push myself, and I was basically just beating my head against a brick wall. It was very frustrating. Whereas now, this system has made all of the difference. This is what is going to ensure that you do not bite off more than you can chew. Everything is going to be a manageable, tiny bite that you can take that is going to get you closer and closer to your goals. You're going to start with that solid foundation and then build from there. Okay, another big mistake I see, and I've made some myself, all of these. I have made all of the mistakes. That's where I'm getting this list from. Okay, I've learned from experience. The next one is focusing too much on the destination. You're focusing on what you want instead of how you're going to get it. Like, what are the actions that you need to do? What are the baby steps that we talked about that you need to take in order to actually get there? It's all wonderful to daydream about the end result and the wonderful new person that we're going to be, but actually putting in the work is a different story. It's all about implementing those habits and routines, and it's all about focusing on your identity first, like who you are. What are your character traits? Now listen, like I said, it's great to have a vision. It's great to dream big, but you also have to be mindful of the day-to-day actions that are required in order to get you there. You can't get so caught up in the romanticized version of your life that you don't actually do what is necessary to make progress. The end result is great, but along the way there is effort, there is sacrifice, there are obstacles. I feel like so many people, again, myself included, are so clear on what they want for their lives, but then when it comes to how they're going to get it, they become very vague. Okay, it's all kind of like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to exercise more, or I'm going to do this other, again, very vague thing. Everyone knows that if you want to get healthier, part of that is exercising more, and maybe some people even go the extra step and they say, okay, well, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, but who is actually scheduling that time? Who is actually meal planning and prepping? Who has a plan in place, like a backup plan for Those days when their motivation is low, or when things don't go according to plan, or something happens. Who has a plan for what they're going to do when they're surrounded by sugary snacks? That is the difference between having a goal and actually doing what is necessary to achieve that goal. Not a vague plan, but a clear plan of action. It's easy to know what you want. It is harder to do what is necessary to get what you want. Next on our list then, the fifth deadly sin when it comes to goal setting. And again, I have made this mistake myself. It is choosing a goal that really just doesn't matter to you. It is a should goal. You think you should want this thing, but really you don't, or it's just not a priority for you right now. Listen, we all know that we could probably stand to be a little bit healthier. We could probably all stand to do a little bit more exercise, or to volunteer a little bit more. Maybe to be more patient with our husband and our kid, or to have a better financial plan in place. Can you tell that I'm just like regurgitating all of the should goals that I have? But the reality is that while all of those might be wonderful goals, they do have an element of kind of like societal pressure attached to them. We think these are things we should want. We think our bodies should look a certain way. We think these are the people that, you know, the type of person that we should be, because that's what we have been told. That is what the media has told us, you know, that we should look a certain way, we should act a certain way, that we should even follow this like certain time frame. We should go to college, get a job, get married, have kids, buy a home, like all of that. There can be so much expectation around that we don't always stop and ask ourselves what we truly want. We can end up following a timeline or goals that essentially someone else has set for us. We can waste so much time following someone else's dream. Like how many kids, you know, went to college, took on a college course because their parents wanted them to? How many grown-ups end up in jobs that they just consider to be good, stable jobs? Not because it's what they actually want to do, but because they thought that's just what they should do. Get an office job or something like that, because that just seemed like the thing everyone is supposed to do. We are all victim to it in some way or another. We have all done things because we thought that's what we should do. I go into this a lot in the workshop, you know, making sure that you're choosing the goals that are right for you, making sure that they are aligned with your identity and your values, and prioritizing your goals so that you are always working on the right thing at the right time. But I know for myself that as a people pleaser, I have often gone along with things just because other people were doing it, or other people expected it of me, or because I didn't want to say no. I didn't want to make things awkward. I didn't want to have any sort of confrontation, so I just went along with it. I would often agree with other people purely because I didn't want to rock the boat. But you know, sometimes you just have to row your boat to the beat of your own drum. I can almost guarantee that you're going to roll your eyes at this next one, or at least at some point while I'm discussing it. It's not adding an element of fun to your goals. The truth is that you are more likely to do something if it's fun, if it's enjoyable, if it is exciting to you or rewarding in some way. No one wants to slug away at something that is dull and boring. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yeah, well, life is like that sometimes. Sometimes I do these things that I don't want to do, but I have to do them. Yes, but you can still jazz something up a little bit. But also, following on from the last point, are you doing things because you feel you should? That is a huge element in a lot of goal setting. We're following goals that we think we should be doing, and we put all of this immense pressure on ourselves, and the reality is we don't enjoy doing it. We just don't. So instead, focus on the fun. It's like when you have, you know, a hard task that you have to stick to for, let's say, an hour. It is going to feel like the longest hour ever. It is going to drag. Okay, you're going to be watching the clock, the hands are going to move backwards, you're going to be looking for ways to distract yourself, you're going to be counting down the minutes. Whereas when you're doing a task that you actually enjoy, the hour flies by, and when the hour is up, you wish that you could keep going. You feel energized, you feel a sense of fun and enjoyment, you feel relaxed, you get into the flow. So it's the exact same amount of time, but your experience of it is so much different, and your desire to continue to make progress is so different. Invariably, for the things that you don't want to do, you will find a way not to do them. Try to make your goals a choice rather than an obligation. Another goal setting sin is not changing your environment. Now, this can be your physical environment, but it could also be your emotional environment. It could be the people that you surround yourself with. Let's say you're trying to eat healthy. Do you think that's going to be easier if you have a fridge and a pantry full of healthy snacks that you enjoy eating, or is it going to be easier if you are surrounded by sugary, tasty treats? If you are starting a side hustle, for example, or starting something new, even a new hobby, do you think that's going to be easier if you have friends who are supporting you and cheering you on and asking how it's going, or is it going to be easier if you have negative people who are criticizing you and asking you why you're bothering, or telling you that's never going to work out? Temptation and negative voices, critical people are pretty much everywhere. Okay, you will always find them. So your job is to limit or eliminate your exposure to those things. Make it so that it is easy to achieve your goals. Make sure that everything around you supports you on your journey, supports your vision and helps you and aids you in some way. And there are so many different ways you can do that. For me, I have set up my home office so that it is a bright, colorful, encouraging, creative space for me. When I sit down, I'm not surrounded by mess. I have the things that I need to get the job done. And another little simple trick that I've implemented is setting reminders for myself to do certain things, but also I have my phone automatically set to go on do not disturb mode during my work hours. I don't even have to think about it, it just automatically happens. Those are the types of things you can do, the ways that you can set yourself up for success, that you can kind of create the best possible environment, circumstances, the best situation in which you can thrive. Now listen, if we're honest, this is kind of like tip of the iceberg stuff when it comes to achieving your goals. I have got the full step-by-step system all laid out for you. It is taught over 8 days. Don't worry, they're not 8 full days. It's about 1 hour a day, and it starts on December 31st, New Year's Eve. Get yourself ready, and then it runs through the first week of January. So can you imagine, like, by the end of the first week of the year, you will already be on your way to achieving your goals. You will already have made so much progress. You will know exactly what you need to do. Honestly, you will amaze yourself by how much you will achieve in that first week. And then can you imagine like building on that and following through for the whole rest of the year? Make 2024 the year that you finally achieve your dreams. It is on sale now until December 31st, and then boom, back up to full price. So go grab it now. Happy New Year, happy goal setting, and here is to achieving all of your goals and your dreams and fulfilling your vision in 2024. You can go ahead and sign up right here, and until then, go raibh míle maith agam. Agus feici mé sibh sigalua. Slán!